How's it going, everyone? Thanks for joining us on this Sunday morning. Today we have Day Trading Ralph with us. So if you want to give a quick self-introduction and then we'll get started.
Yeah, so what's good, everyone? I appreciate T for having me on. I'm just going to go over the market today, going to go over the economic calendar and just what to expect for this week that is coming.
Sweet. So we'll go ahead and we'll switch over to his screen, get started, and then if you guys have questions, you can just leave them in the chat and I'll take a look and forward them along to him. So.
All right, great. So basically, the economic calendar, that's where most of your trades will be formed because this is the roadmap for trading because it creates the weekly range. So if we look here, we have news on Monday at 9 a.m. So 9 a.m. news is... Wait, is my audio good?
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, you're good, Ralph.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, one sec. Yeah, I can hear you.
Wait, what about now? It
Yeah,
keeps cutting in and out.
you're good.
All right, so when we have red folder news, basically, it's a good way to identify expansions. However, many people are looking at red folder news just for the sake of it because they expect the price will be trading in one direction. However, if we start to look at candle closes instead of red folder news specifically, so if we have a clear drawn liquidity on Tuesday, so we have a fair value gap, so price can trade into
Ralph,
week.
you're on the week ahead.
Also, so on Monday we have no news, so this can be viewed as accumulation for the weekly range.
Ralph, you're that's October 8th. You gotta go back
Or
a week.
what?
Yeah, you gotta go
Oh, my
back 2
bad.
weeks. Another one.
That one?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, right, okay, my bad. So Monday we have Euro News at 3 a.m. So I'm usually a New York session trader, so usually I don't really care for 3 a.m. news. This can be viewed as a accumulation day for the weekly range, and so can Tuesday. So realistically, trading starts on a Thursday and Friday. However, we have the monthly candle closes this week, and also we have the end of the quarter. So this is something to consider when we are trading this week, because obviously we have to keep in mind the
It's cutting out a little, I think.
cut out.
No, you're good now, I think.
Well, what did I say I was speaking about? So we have to keep in the monthly open, low, high.
Oh,
Yo.
it's cutting out a little. You were just talking about the monthly open, high, low, close.
Okay, so the monthly open, low, high close for this week is coming to an end. So this is where we need to be careful when we are trading, because obviously we're viewing the week as Monday we have accumulation and Thursday we can expect distribution, but where is the manipulation going to occur? So this is why I'd wait for some sort of external range liquidity to be taken. So I'd expect the Fed chair on Thursday, but however, it is a end of the quarter week and we are closing the monthly candle.
Sweet. Sweet. Do we wanna hop
So
into the charts and kind of explain that?
yeah. So if you look at the dollar chart right here, I'll go into monthly because on the monthly, this is where large funds are positioned themselves. So when we have a clear draw on liquidity, like on the monthly right here, we have a fair value gap. So this is a clear draw for us to look at for this week. So we can expect, as this candle closes, because we have a open low, we can expect a high to form inside of this fair value gap, then we close. So we can expect some sort of buy side liquidity to be taken on the monthly on DXY. And then we trade back into the range. So usually looking for Thursday to cap the weekly range for us this coming week. And if we look at the weekly chart on DXY, we can see right here that this is the liquidity that we're looking at. So price to reach into here and possibly above this high. So these are the two areas that I'm looking at on DXY going into this week. And if we look on the daily, so most of your analysis should be done on the DXY chart. I would cover the bonds chart, but if we look at the bonds right here, because the bonds chart and DXY go hand in hand. So when we are looking at the yield market, we should also look at the DXY because I usually look for SMTs. SMTs are the easiest way to see real accumulation that's happening in the market. So if we see from this monthly chart, we are bullish. So if yield goes higher, so if bond yields go higher, DXY goes higher. So this is why the drawn liquidity on DXY is bullish. So I'm looking for this high to be taken. But then we got to consider that is the last week of the quarter and it is the last week of the month. So we can't expect too much from the market, but I would expect this high to be taken and possibly a higher run on DXY is what I'm expecting.
All right. If you guys do have any questions, throw them in chat and I will relay them. But
is audio all good now?
Yeah, audio is all good.
Before it's cutting out. So we have this fair value gap on the daily chart. So the market only just draws two things mainly. It's just buy stops or sell stops or inefficiency. So that's really your only concern when you are trading, because if you want to keep things simple, this is the easiest way to trade. You trade from external range liquidity into internal range liquidity. So if we look here, we have this daily fair value gap. So this is obviously a shout out to my friend, the MMX7 trader, because this is his, well, it's not his concept, but he did introduce it to me. So this is where we trade externally into this high, and we can look to trade back into this fair value gap to cap the weekly range. So I hope this is making sense, because I'm thinking of, I've got two things in mind. It's the quarter which is ending, and then we've got the final week of the trading month. So I expect price to make a high around here, and then we close off into this fair value gap. So I've got two scenarios in mind. Either we play from this high and then back down to this fair value gap, or we play into here and then into this fair value gap. So yeah, Euro USD and the gold, you have to analyze the dollar. So if you analyze the dollar first, it makes it much easier to trade Euro USD and gold. So I will cover Euro USD, of course, but it's the same principle, but it's reversed. So if we look over Euro USD, because I've covered the bond market. So bonds, I do expect a higher push, but we do have this fair value gap to look at, and we've got a higher push on dollar as well into this high, and maybe back into this fair value gap to cap the weekly range, and to close the open low high close on the monthly candle. So if we look at Euro USD, it's literally the same but opposite. So monthly and weekly charts are your most important to frame trading setups. Here we've got a monthly fair value gap. So that is a potential draw, and we have this low and this low that we could get a deeper run into. And then the weekly chart, for you as a trader, I think the main concern should be to know where the weekly candle is going to expand. Is it going to go higher or lower? So as ICT says, that is probably the easiest way to trade, because if you know where the weekly candle is going to expand or go lower, it makes your trading much more easier. So here we have sell side below this low and this low. So this is what I'm kind of expecting on euro as well. As dollar goes higher, we go lower on euro, and then we cap off the weekly range. So possibly something like this, go lower and maybe back into the internal range liquidity, because it's the last week of the quarter and the monthly candle.
Let's see.
Well,
A few people wanted
what
to
about
ask
GU?
about GU or just lower time frame entry models that you use.
Yeah, I can go over that. I just wanted to go over a few more stuff as well.
Yeah, go for it.
GU right here, because the pound is much more weaker than the euro. So if we look at, so for Forex, this is what you should be doing as well. If you look at individual currency futures, it makes your trading much more easier. So if you look at just the pound, we can see that it's just been selling off. And if we look at the euro, this is what I was looking at from the euro. So this is how you can do analysis when you're So as you can see that the pound is much more weaker than the euro. So, but however, if we look here, we've traded back into this small little fair value gap on the euro futures. And then I would expect price to just continue going lower, take out this low externally. So if you match up currency futures with, so if you match up a weaker currency against a strong currency, this is where you'll find your low resistance liquidity run trades. Nasdaq, yeah, I'll cover Nasdaq, but I just wanted to go over a few stuff like this, because this is ideally where you'll find the easiest trading setups. Because if you're trading currencies, you want to trade a strong currency against a weak, because that's where low resistance liquidity run trades will form. So this is the levels that I'm looking at on dollar. Bonds, I do expect the yield to still go higher and euro to go higher. I'm just not touching the pound right now because it's considerably weaker and it's in a much more deeper discount than the euro. So I wanted to go over that. So is there any more like pairs or anything that
I
anyone
think
wants to go over?
someone wanted to look at Nasdaq was the only other one.
Oh yeah. So this makes your trading easier. So if you're looking at the dollar, so if the dollar goes higher, the Nasdaq goes lower, and if the dollar goes lower, the Nasdaq goes higher. So this is how you can make your trading much more easier. So looking at the monthly on NAS, it's coming up to its monthly candle close. So I would expect something, maybe a run below this low into the close of the week. So maybe we cap the weekly range into here, we come into here, and then maybe something like that. Or we come back into this fair value gap. But I do like NASDAQ going lower because I am bullish on dollar, something like this. And we've got this fair value gap, which to keep in mind. So maybe early on in the week, we come higher to go lower. That would make sense because Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we have no news. So I wanted to speak about the no news as well because a lot of people think because there's no news, you don't need to trade. But when you've got indices markets that have a volatility injection that happens at 9:30, you'll usually find that a Judah swing is much likely to occur at 9:30 when we have no news. So that's something that you can look at because that's something that I found interesting when I was looking at the markets, that a 9:30 Judah swing usually works better when there is no news because there's no volatility injection apart from the 9:30. So yeah, Nasdaq, I'm bearish on. ES, same. I would like a return back into fair value. Then we continue lower. We've got obviously this volume imbalance. Well, that's a void, but we can still go into that. I think that's a good draw. And YM, I don't really trade it, but I do use it as a good SMT between NAS and ES because you'd always be looking at 3 averages.
Um, I think there's a few questions just on some entry models. If you guys do want to check out his YouTube channel, he goes over a lot of his entry models.
Yeah.
So you can check that out. But maybe you could touch on one, and then people can look at your YouTube for that.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of entry models, but I think my favorite is probably a breaker because a breaker for me shows real change in the state of delivery. So when we've got a change in the state of delivery in the market, that's where opportunities are born. So that's a good quote from ICT, that whenever we have a change in the state of delivery in the market, that is where opportunities are born. So when we usually in an MMXM model, if we go on a 1 minute chart and I try and find it. So here, this is usually what I would trade off of. So we have this breaker, we've got a low, high, and a lower low. So this candle becomes a significant to us because as you can see, no bodies are going past this breaker. A breaker is another form of mitigation. So this is where anyone that was bearish, they can come square their positions right here, or they can offset any positions that they had. So I think breakers are probably my favorite entry techniques to enter the market.
Do you use COT at all?
Yeah, but I believe the commitment of traders works better if you are long-term position holding. So if you are looking to be an investor instead of a speculator in the market, I believe looking at COT for longer term investing is a much better option, in my opinion, anyway.
Gotcha. Seems
And
like.
with breakers, oh, gone.
Oh no, go for it. Go for it.
Yeah, I was going to speak about breakers as well because this is something that you can study as well as the 9:30 thing that I mentioned before. Because when there's no news at 9:30, the best, well, the Judah swing forms at that time. That's what I found with my study. So when we have no high impact news for the day, looking at Nasdaq, we have a 9:30 volatility injection. So the best Judah swing it usually forms when we have no news. So that's something you can look at for your own studies. But you can also look at breakers because a lot of people are going over breakers. So we have a high, then we go lower, then we come back into the breaker, then we move higher. So if you start to look at something else, here where we close below this low on a bullish breaker, if you look for a bodies that close below this low instead of wicks, you'll find that the breaker that forms, and when we trade back into the breaker, you'll see that it trades much better instead when we'd have wicks below it. So that's something that you can look at for your own trading. But yeah, go on, T.
Uh, I can't remember what I was gonna say. Oh, I think there's a lot of people asking about gold. Um,
Gold.
some, yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
so let's go over it. Gold usually. So this is what I mean. If you don't have a clear draw on the monthly, and if you don't have a clear idea where the weekly candle is going to expand, there's no point in you trading. Because if you know where the weekly candle is going to expand, it gives you a much easier way to frame your trading setup for the weekly range, because then you can implement the economic calendar. Then you know where the weekly candle is going to go higher or lower. But however, if we are bullish on the dollar, I would expect gold to come lower and maybe into here. So something like this, we got this, and we've got this. So these two areas I would look at gold, but we've also coming into the close of the monthly candle and the last quarter, so I wouldn't expect too much from price. You'll see probably what me on the first 2 days when we start trading, but I do sometimes favor trading Mondays. I know a lot of people don't like Mondays, but if you look at Nasdaq and what I'm talking about when there is no news at 9:30, you'll see that sometimes the delivery is pretty good. It's tradable on the M1 and M5 chart, but I know a lot of people don't like that. But for me, I found it to work.
um, people want an example of what you mean with the breaker. I can see if I can find a good example as well.
Yeah, because the bodies basically, well, as ICT says and what I found is bodies are telling the story of the market narrative. So sometimes when we have a wick closing below a breaker low, so if we are bullish, I don't really trust the breaker that much, if that makes sense. But I will always use breakers for a change in the state of delivery compared to order blocks, because it's just personal preference. But I find breakers to be much more meaningful in the market.
Okay, let's see. What is the symbol for GBP index chart? Do you mean GBP futures? Oh,
Yeah, I think it means futures.
yeah,
So
that's
pound
just
futures chart, I'll leave it right here. It's
six.
6B1 exclamation mark. So I do use, so for market structure wise, I don't really look at price action for market structure. I do use market structure in a way for stop losses. So your stop losses, you'll find the best ones will form at intermediate term highs and lows, and short term, well, not short term highs and lows, long term highs and lows. So if you begin to look at placing your stop above long-term highs and long-term lows, you'll find that they are much safer there, and also in the intermediate-term highs and lows compared to short-term lows and highs, because I find them to be much more riskier.
We have news for EU starting Monday. Can you repeat why you'd expect consolidate and trade after Wednesday? I'm confused. That's one of the questions.
Oh, news on.
Let me see.
So Euro news on Monday. I don't really like to trade London session because we have 3 a.m. news. So this is another shout out to TCM, because I usually start my day from 4 a.m. So I don't really consider any price action before 4 a.m. to be any significant to me. Euro can do whatever it wants, but I've solely started to look at New York session only because it is the easiest session to trade because it's either going to be a continuation of what London did or a reversal. So when you have those two plays in mind, it makes your trading much more easier.
Um,
Yeah, but Monday definitely. I can trade NAS on Monday. I don't really mind it because it has a volatility injection at 9:30. So when we have something like that, I do look for a Judas swing, so price to create the opposite end of the range. And I'm always watching through futures and index charts to show me an SMT, but I would always refer to these three averages to show the SMT. It's going to be a continuation or reversal, in other words. It's going to go up and down. Yeah, pretty much. But when you know, if you're on side with a continuation, you can play trading London onto New York. My interest crosses. So this is how I'd trade crosses. So you look at a currency that is consolidating or strong. So if we look at the Aussie and the New Zealand, nothing really interests me. The CAD, it's just in a weird position right now. So I have no read on the weekly candle unless we come back into here on the CAD. So this is a potential draw. And the pound is just very weak. Euro. I'd rather trade Euro USD at this point because none of the good currency futures are showing to me that they are considerably weak or considerably strong. So if you want to trade crosses and you don't want to get chopped up, I would always look at currency futures to frame your trading setup. So Euro USD, Euro AUD, where is that? Oh, I'm not gonna lie, this does look pretty good. I mean, because we are bearish on the euro, well, we do expect the euro to continue going lower. I could expect Euro AUD to come into this low and this low, and GBP AUD the same. So maybe Monday we come back into fair value and then we continue lower. So this is something I could watch out for. So when we got no red news, something like this. Because euro is considerably weak, and if we look at AUD on the daily, we are in a consolidation, and these even on the New Zealand. So this is a pretty good shout to whoever said that. I will actually keep an eye off on that. So it's just a daily that's a bit not great, but weekly either we go higher to go lower or we just continue lower because the euro is bearish.
someone had a question: which broker do you use for your charts within TradingView?
Oh, for TradingView, I always use forex.com. I just don't know, ICT uses it, and I found it to be the one that delivers pretty good handles. Yeah, the Aussie is the Australian dollar. But this is just something to make your trading much more easier. Like knowing where the weekly candle is going to expand. It's literally the market because that is the weekly range. So if we can frame trading setups from using the economic calendar and knowing if the weekly candle is going to go higher or lower, this just it makes your life much more easier as well, because if you know where the weekly candle is going to expand, if it's going to, because the market can only print two things. It's either an open low high close candle or it's a open low high close. So it's only two things that it can print. So if you know which one it is going to print on the weekly, it makes it much more easier. And to
I'm
Use.
gonna oh yeah, go for it.
I'll go on.
Oh, I was just
What
gonna
were you
go
gonna do?
over a quick question.
Yeah.
So that someone was asking if New York is gonna be like a reversal continuation, how to frame that, and that's within the daily profile. So using
Yeah.
our uh, midnight open right here. So let's say London sets the high of the day or current high of the day. If I'm bullish and then there is a discount array down here, then I'm anticipating a New York reversal, right? And with that, I'm anticipating London highs to be taken. And then we form the low here, high close. And that will form a candle that looks something like this, right? So that will be our uh, bullish reversal candle. It'll look something like that. Versus on like a classic sell day, if I'm still bearish, I'm anticipating a reach back into a premium or some sort of PD array for then a continuation lower before we close, right? And that will form the classic sell day profile. It looks something like that, right? And so New York, what he's meaning is right here or right here, it's either going to continue with the direction of London or it's going to reverse, right? That's the two things that it does. And so understanding that within, other contexts and using PD arrays and higher time frame, it makes it a lot easier for trading New York session. So
Yeah.
that's what he meant.
Thanks. So that's perfect explanation of if New York is going to be a reversal or a continuation.
And it's just within the New York AM session generally. So
Yeah.
let's see.
Well, I saw something about Forex, what time to trade it, but I would never trade Forex at start of 7 a.m. Like when kill zone starts, so we've got 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I would never trade at the beginning of a kill zone. So usually if you start to use 7:30 opening price or 8:30 opening price, you can see quite clearly where the market is in the protraction, so it's doing the opposite of what it is actually going to do. So it's just enticing traders to look at the market in a different perspective than where it actually is going.
Let's see. Verma, I have no idea. That's something you'd have to look up on their site. Breaker is by definition mitigation, but not all mitigation are breakers.
So breakers are a form of mitigation, and so are MMXM models. So a lot of people are teaching them, but they don't know what it is by definition. So a market maker XM model is by definition, it's mitigation. So it's mitigation of orders. So I've got a video on my channel how you can use mitigation blocks and how they form in price action, how ICT has taught them as well.
Reclaimed order blocks, yeah, kinda. They're similar, but they don't have the structural
all
formation.
Of ICT's, all of ICT's PD arrays, they can be reclaimed, like every single one of them. But breakers are a bit different.
Am I using any indicators? Personally, the only indicator I use is, let me pull up to my screen, is I'll use this this indicator, right? And so that's the weekly profile or daily. I don't know what I have it set on right now. Weekly. So this is the weekly candle. And then I also will use this. So this will just give me, I had it edited for the silver bullet session, but kill zones indicator. But most of the time my chart's pretty clean. I don't know if Ralph uses anything.
Nah, no indicators for me. I used to back in the day, but not anymore.
Setups you played in the last week if I care to share. I mean, I can go over. Yeah, go. You can go
just
for
go
it.
on my Twitter.
Yeah, he has
I
a
was gonna
bunch
say
on his
go on my
Twitter.
Twitter.
Yeah.
But I'm playing Euro at the moment because it's the cleanest to trade and it's the easiest to trade because with brokers you have the tightest spreads with Euro. So what did I play this week? Oh yeah, I've played some shorts from this fair value gap. So when we took out this high, and I played some more shorts in here, so I longed and short. So when we got this candle formed, I was immediately looking for it to go lower into these lows. So this is how you can trade with logic. So if we traded above these two highs, so we have three drive pattern right here. So this is usually a reversal pattern. So this is how you can just frame your trading setups from the daily. So we've taken liquidity 3 times above here, and then we printed this candle. So is it logical for price to continue going higher when we've left this wick, or is it easier for the market just to run below these two lows and here? So this is like how you can start thinking about it logically, like what is easier to do? Is it easier to go from here, go all the way back up there, or is it easier to take the stops down here? Because we've already taken the buy stops, we've come back into fair value. Anyone that was looking to go higher from here failed, and then we took the sell stops. Then we're back into the range.
Let's see. What is the name of the indicator for weekly profile you just showed? That is Power 3. I have the pro version, but there's a free version as well. The pro version just allows me to put multiple candles so I can see the past 3 weeks, right? Or if I switch it to day, it'll show me the last 3 days, right? Same thing if I go to like NQ. Just takes a second to load, but you can see how that works out. So it's helpful in visualization of like open, high, low, close, stuff like that. But that is by 2 degrees. Let's see. Yeah, I also have quite a few videos on my channel that have gone over a lot of the questions that are asked in here. And Ralph actually has quite a few videos on his channel going over that. So if you guys want to check out those questions, I mean, those videos for your questions might be more helpful. Thanks, J Money, for that reminder. But if you guys don't have any other questions, we'll probably call it here soon. But if you guys haven't already, click the description below and go check out Ralph's YouTube, hit subscribe, and check out his Twitter. He posts a lot of informational content on there, and also on Instagram as well. I don't think I linked his Instagram, but I can add that in. But if you guys do have any other questions, feel free to reach out on his channel or my channel. Just leave a comment in one of the videos. I know we both read ours, so. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the stream, and I will see you guys next time.